The crown prince was harshly rebuked by the emperor for his lack of filial piety and brotherly duty, confined to his chambers for half a year to reflect on his transgressions. The designated crown princess, Qin Shiyu, immediately annulled the betrothal and married the son of the Empress Dowager instead. Maliciously humiliating him, I wed only the future emperor, not a worthless, discarded son. Amidst this siege of adversity, the crown prince made a secret nighttime visit to the chancellor's residence, pleading with my father to marry me. With the chancellor's full support, the crown prince carved a bloody path through the brutal succession struggle and ascended the throne. I thought my suffering had finally ended. But the new emperor listed dozens of crimes against my father, raided the chancellor's residence with thunderous force, executed my father by slow slicing, then forced me to drink an abortion potion before banishing me to the cold palace. The young emperor's handsome features held a cold, malevolent glint. Only she shall be my empress. You are unworthy. I chose to die with him. When I opened my eyes again, I had reborn to the very day the crown prince visited the chancellor's residence. Rushing to my father's study, I overheard Crown Prince Qin Bagua formally asking for my hand in marriage. Miss Rong is the foremost beauty of the capital, gifted with both talent and grace. I have long admired her. I come today to formally request her hand in marriage. I hope Miss Rong will consent. Without hesitation, I pushed open the door and rushed inside, shouting, "Father!" The two inside turned at the sound. I hurried to my father's side and knelt, bending my knees. "Father, I will not marry." Qin Bagu's eyes were icy cold. He gave a faint, enigmatic smile and said, word by word, "Miss Rong, truly the daughter of Minister Rong. Your courage is remarkable." I lifted my head and looked at him silently. He wore a dark green cloak, his figure tall and straight. His handsome yet cold face gradually overlapped with the image from my past life. In my past life, the imperial physician had detected my pregnancy pulse. After 3 years of marriage, this child had finally come, hard-won and precious. My heart overflowed with joy, eager to share this news with Qin Bagu. But suddenly, I received word of the Rong family's annihilation and my father's impending execution by Ling Qi. In a single night, I plummeted from heaven to hell. Before I could even see Qin Bagu, I was forced to swallow a bowl of abortion medicine, cast into the cold palace, and placed under strict surveillance. A month after being banished to the cold palace, the dust settled. Qin Bagu finally appeared, shedding his former veneer of warmth. The young emperor's handsome features now bore a cold, malevolent glint. Marrying you was merely a tactical maneuver. Yet your father had the audacity to demand I crown you empress. I detest being held hostage by others more than anything in this life. Those who touch my dragon scales shall die. I laughed aloud, tears welling in my eyes. After ascending the throne, Qin Bagu ignored me in the harem for half a year, granting me no title. The entire palace could only vaguely address me as Your Majesty. Everyone assumed it was only a matter of time before I was formally crowned empress. After all, I was his lawful wife, having stood by him from humble beginnings to his present position. Only my father felt I was being wronged and raised the matter of crowning me empress with Qin Bagu. Unexpectedly, he turned on me like a dog that had served its purpose, unleashing a massacre upon my Rong clan and exterminating my entire family. In the end, I met the fate of the hare killed after the hunt, and discarded like a used tool. Qin Bagu softened his tone and continued, "She marries only the Son of Heaven." I fought tooth and nail to ascend this throne precisely to offer her the position of empress. You are unworthy of the empress title, but in recognition of your 3 years of devoted service managing the inner court, I shall grant you the title of consort Rong. Is that acceptable? My face remained expressionless, utterly unmoved. He stepped before me, embracing me gently, his voice low and husky. reminiscent of their intimate moments. Yun Yun. Stop this. Be good. Seizing the moment, I yanked out my hairpin and thrust it with all my strength into his throat. One strike. One kill. Blood gushed forth. Clutching his neck, he staggered back several steps, eyes bulging in fury as he stared at me. Within moments, he crashed to the ground, lifeless, my face expressionless. I held the sharp hairpin and stabbed his corpse frantically, stabbing it beyond recognition. Finally, I knocked over the candlestick, setting the cold palace ablaze. Amidst the sky-reaching flames, filled with intense hatred, I slowly closed my eyes. The atmosphere in the study was somewhat tense. My father came to my rescue, helping me up from the ground, asking with concern, "Yuner, why have you come?" Tears welled in my eyes as I choked out, "Father, I dreamt of Mother. My heart ached. So I came to seek you." At the mention of Mother, my father's expression also turned sorrowful. He and Mother had shared a deep, lifelong love. Even in his high position, even though Mother never bore him a son, he never once considered taking a concubine. I turned to Qin Begu and bowed respectfully, "Your Highness, the Crown Prince. I humbly report that my mother passed away 6 months ago. Before her spirit tablet, I vowed to observe 3 years of mourning. It is truly inappropriate to discuss marriage at this time. Our dynasty has always governed the realm through filial piety. Surely your Highness will understand my heart's refusal to marry? In my previous life, I never knew why my father had agreed to this match. With Qin Begu present now, I couldn't mention that past life. I could only invoke my mother's name to dissuade my father's intentions while also refusing Qin Begu with righteous justification." Qin Begu's face turned ashen. His voice was cold, Miss Rong's devotion to filial piety. "I certainly understand. Not long ago, he had been reprimanded by the emperor for failing in filial piety and brotherly duty, punished with 6 months of seclusion for reflection." My words were like stabbing him in the heart. Unable to bear it any longer, Qin Begu hurriedly left the prime minister's residence. My father kept me behind, his gaze piercing as he fixed it on me. "Yuner, what exactly has happened?" Indeed, I couldn't hide it from him. My nose stung, and tears rolled down my cheeks. Seeing my tears, father panicked. "Don't cry. Don't cry. Whatever it is, Father will handle it for you." I wiped my tears and laid out everything from my past life. Father's anger boiled over, his lips trembling with fury. "That Qin brat is such an ungrateful rat. How dare he treat you this way? You've suffered so much. Yuner." His eyes reddened. "I failed to protect you. How can I face your mother after subjecting you to such torment?" Every word was about me, not a single mention of himself. In my past life, he was executed by Qin Begu through Lingqi, a brutal, torturous punishment. Flesh sliced from the body, piece by piece, 1,000 cuts until death. I heard that Minister Rong remained silent throughout, uttering only one plea as death approached: "May your Majesty spare my daughter. She has done nothing to deserve this." All this was told to me by Chen Xiu. It was shortly after I'd been banished to the cold palace. She came there, triumphant, to flaunt her victory before me. Several tall, sturdy palace maids pinned me to the ground, forcing me to kneel before her. She looked down on me from above, her voice dripping with triumph. "You didn't know, did you? It was I who told His Majesty. How can one sleep soundly beside a threat?" Minister Rong's achievements overshadow the sovereign. He is a menace. Darkness flooded my vision as a metallic taste of blood rose in my throat. "I've done you no wrong, no past grievances, no recent enmity. Why this betrayal?" Truthfully, I seldom mingled with the aristocratic ladies' gatherings. I couldn't fathom what possible grudge she might hold against me. "No grudge?" Seeing my bewilderment, she instantly flared up. enunciating each word, all my life. I've been overshadowed by you, family background, talent, beauty. Everyone in the capital says you're superior. Do you know how I've lived these past years? She paused briefly before erupting into maniacal laughter. Thankfully, heaven has eyes. Now your clan is ruined. Your husband loves me. And the Empress's throne you coveted? I didn't even have to fight for it, it was handed to me on a silver platter. Rong Yun, you're not even fit to tie my shoes. The memories were too painful. Too brutal. My eyes burned red. My body trembled uncontrollably. In my past life, I failed to kill Qinshiyu, it was my incompetence. But I've been reborn. Every grievance from my past life, I shall settle one by one. Not a single soul will escape. Though Qin Beigu has fallen from power, he remains the crown prince. To topple him requires a gradual, calculated plan. These past days, I've secluded myself. I've silently recounted every detail of my past life, down to the smallest event, to ensure nothing is forgotten. Coincidentally, an invitation arrived from the Qin family of the Duke's residence. Qinshiyu hosted a spring banquet, inviting young ladies from all the noble families in the capital to admire the flowers and enjoy tea. In my past life, I declined and did not attend. But at this banquet, a scandalous incident occurred that became known to all. Qin Wenyin, the second daughter of the Qin family, accidentally fell into the water and was seen by commoners out for a stroll by the lake. The young lady's reputation was utterly ruined, and she was ultimately driven to suicide by the rumors. Qinshiyu was the eldest legitimate daughter born to the Duke's first wife. After the first wife passed away from illness, the Duke married his childhood sweetheart and cousin as his second wife, with whom he had a son and a daughter. Qin Wenyin was the second legitimate daughter born to the second wife. Rumors claimed Qinshiyu harbored deep hatred toward the second wife and treated her two half-siblings with utter disdain. So was this drowning truly an accident? This lifetime, I resolved to uncover the truth myself and wait for my chance to act. The spring banquet was held by Yanqi Lake. The weather was splendid. Spring warmth in full bloom, drawing crowds of common folk to admire the flowers and play by the water. Qinshiyu appeared in a dazzling crimson gown, surrounded like a moon amidst stars. Spotting me, she glided over, raising an eyebrow in mockery. I hear the crown prince visited the chancellor's residence? How does it feel to pick up a man I discarded? I smiled faintly, Miss Qin. Your information seems outdated. I don't fancy men, I fancy women. Her face twisted in horror as she stared at me. My gaze, however, shifted to a quiet, reserved girl standing behind her. She cradled a tabby cat with a broken leg in her arms. Qinshiyu turned her head to follow my gaze and snorted coldly. That's my third younger sister, Qin Wenyin. She's always doting on cats and dogs. Later, while boating on the lake, Qinshiyu suddenly smashed her teacup. Startled, the tabby cat wriggled free from Qin Wenyin's arms and, in its panic, leaped into the lake. The crippled kitten, unable to save itself, struggled helplessly in the water, its pitiful cries echoing. Qin Wenyin rushed to the railing, reaching for the kitten with a bamboo pole, but it was just out of her grasp. Frantic, tears streamed down her face. Qinshiyu said, "Don't worry, third sister. Hold my hand. Lean out, you're almost there." So that's how it was. In a past life, Qinshiyu had used this very trick to make Qin Wenxin fall into the water, ultimately ruining her reputation and driving her to despair and suicide. I pushed Qinshiyu aside and grabbed Qin Wenxin's wrist first. "I'll pull you." The kitten was successfully caught in the net. Just as I began reeling her in, my peripheral vision caught Qinshiyu charging toward us. I yanked hard, pulling Qin Wenyin and the kitten back with me, tumbling onto the deck. Qinshiyu missed her target, somersaulting headfirst into the lake. Startled, Qin Wenyin grabbed the bamboo pole to rescue her. I snatched it away. I'll do it. The more Qin Shiyu tried to climb up the pole, the more wildly I jabbed at her in the lake. I jabbed her until she screamed and spluttered, gulping down a bellyful of lake water and sinking straight down. She was drowning. The others on the boat noticed the commotion and rushed to the deck, helplessly watching Qin Shiyu flailing in the water. For some reason, all the servants had been left ashore this time. Only the young ladies from various families remained aboard. I felt a twinge of regret. So close. So very close to killing her. But it didn't matter. Even if she didn't die, I would make sure she suffered. I took a deep breath and shouted at the top of my lungs, "Help! Someone! Help!" As Qin Shiyu stared at me with utter terror, I raised my voice even higher, determined to make sure the whole world knew. The eldest daughter of the Qin family from the Duke's mansion has fallen into the lake. A single stone sent ripples across the water. My cry instantly drew the attention of the spring-outing crowd gathered along the lakeshore. Several kind-hearted men, seeing the red-clad beauty bobbing in the water, leapt in head first, racing to rescue Qin Shiyu. In the end, Qin Shiyu was pulled ashore by several men working together. The onlookers whispered among themselves. They say she's the eldest daughter of the Qin family from the Duke's mansion. Now that her body's been seen by all these filthy men, her reputation is ruined for good. Isn't the eldest daughter of the Qin family supposed to marry the third prince next month? How could he possibly dare to take her now? Oh, that's nonsense. Whoever saves her gets to marry her, simple as that. Hearing this, the rescuers started brawling over who had actually pulled her out. Some of them were married men, and their wives grabbed them by the ears, yelling, "You good for nothing!" Jumping into the lake was easy enough. Was it? Did you fancy that slut? Whether you saved a common girl or a princess, mark my words, I'm the legitimate wife. That slut can only enter this house as a concubine. The spring chill was biting, the lake water icy cold. Qin Shiyu was frozen to the point of near death, then driven mad by the chaotic scene unfolding before her. She collapsed onto the ground and fainted. She lay there for a long while before the Qin household servants finally arrived, belatedly rescuing her. And just like that, the spring banquet came to an abrupt end. After watching the spectacle, I turned to leave. That's when I spotted Qin Beigu amidst the crowd. He stood on the pavilion across the street, observing everything with calm composure. Just then, a horse galloped past, blocking my view. When I looked again, the pavilion was empty, as if it had all been a figment of my imagination. My heart raced, yet I knew I hadn't imagined it. But why was Qin Beigu here? How long had he been standing there? Had he witnessed my actions aboard the boat? Why hadn't he intervened to save Qin Shiyu? A barrage of questions flooded my mind, plunging me into deep thought. Just then, Qin Wenyin approached and bowed deeply to me. "Thank you, sister, for saving me earlier. If not for you, I would have been the one in trouble." She wasn't exactly foolish. It finally dawned on her, Qin Shiyu's arrangements today had all been aimed at her. I gave a distant smile. "No need to thank me, Wenyin. I only saved a little cat. It was nothing." She paused, startled. Then understanding dawned, and she beamed at me. Rumors swirled throughout the capital. Multiple versions of Qin Shiyu's drowning circulated, each more exaggerated than the last. The men who had rescued her remained stationed daily at the Duke's residence, declaring their willingness to vouch for the young Mrs. Honor. The old Duke was so enraged he spat blood and had them thrown out. Days later, word spread that the third prince had gone to the Qin family to annul the betrothal, leaving the Duke's household utterly disgraced. Qin Shiyu shut herself away, rumored to be gravely ill. He who sows the wind shall reap the whirlwind. Had she not harbored intentions to harm Qin Wenyin, she would never have brought this ruin upon herself. Yet she had once declared she would marry none but the future emperor. Now that both the crown prince and the presumptive heir have flown away, I'll be damned if I don't see how she intends to claim the empress's throne. After this ordeal, her fate, if not hanging herself, would surely be banishment to the family temple, shaving her head to become a nun, spending her life in the company of ancient Buddhas and dim lamps. The common folk of the capital were all watching the Duke's mansion's disgrace. Some even opened betting pools in tea houses, wagering on how the eldest Miss Jin would ultimately be dealt with. Those men who rescued her even placed bets themselves, wagering that Miss Jin would marry them, much to the crowd's amusement. When word reached the Duke's mansion, I heard the old Duke smashed several more teacups in his quarters. That day, after returning from court, my father came straight to my courtyard, dismissing the servants and closing the study door. His expression grew grave. During morning court today, His Majesty fainted. The imperial physician said it was nothing serious, just a chill from the wind that would clear up with a few days' rest. But I noticed the emperor's complexion looked rather poor. It matched my memories perfectly. In my previous life, it was around this very time that the emperor fainted in court. And from then on, his health steadily declined. Only then, I had already married Qin Beigu, and the crown prince's confinement order had long been lifted. With His Majesty's health failing and his energy waning, Crown Prince Qin Beigu could legitimately shoulder the emperor's burdens. He would gradually consolidate his power within the court, laying a solid foundation for his eventual succession to the throne. This was a crucial turning point. But in this life, I refused Qin Beigu's marriage proposal. Without the backing of my Rong family, Qin Beigu faced immense difficulties, enduring a far harder path than in my previous existence. With the emperor's collapse, the imperial princes began stirring restlessly. Yet Qin Beigu remained confined within his residence. By now, he must be nearly driven mad with frustration. I turned to my father. Father, do you have any favored princes in mind? My father countered, what do you think? Yuner? I walked to the desk, picked up paper and brush, and wrote down several names. The current emperor has few heirs, only 4 princes and 2 princesses. First, cross out Crown Prince Qin Beigu. To me, he's already a dead man. Next, cross out the 3rd prince, born to the Empress Dowager. The 3rd prince is Qin Beigu's greatest rival. By birthright, he is also the legitimate son of the Empress, matching Qin Beigu in status. Moreover, the Empress Dowager still lives, ready to aid him. But this man is cruel and bloodthirsty, obsessed with glory and power. He is unfit to rule. Though I seek vengeance, I cannot plunge the realm's people into chaos. If I abandon principle and resort to any means to achieve my ends, how would I differ from that scoundrel Qin Beigu? That leaves only the 1st prince and the 6th prince. The eldest prince is obsessed with seeking immortality and pursuing Taoist doctrines. This isn't a ploy to conceal his true abilities or deceive others, he is genuinely consumed by it. Moreover, his excessive consumption of elixirs has ruined his health. In his previous life, he even passed away before His Majesty. As for the 6th prince, he suffered brain damage from a horse-riding accident in childhood. He is pure-hearted yet simple-minded, with average abilities. My pen hesitated over the 6th prince's name. Choose one who's a bit simpleton, kind-hearted, and receptive to counsel. Perhaps that would be a blessing for the people? It's a pity both the emperor's princesses have been married off to foreign lands. Otherwise, they'd be far better choices than these flawed princes. My father wore an inscrutable expression as he spoke slowly. Yuner, you've forgotten one person. Before he could finish, an imperial edict arrived, summoning us to receive the decree. Holding the edict, I felt utterly dazed. His Majesty had betrothed me to the Prince of Jin, with the wedding to be held at month's end. This was an event that never occurred in my past life. Why had this variable entered my life this time? Where exactly had things gone wrong? Prince Jin of Jin was the late emperor's youngest son. Cunning bordering on the supernatural. He possessed an uncommonly mature demeanor for his age. Disciplined and respectful of propriety. Even as a child, he displayed the noble bearing of a gentleman. Though tragically, he was frail and sickly, born with inherent weaknesses. The current emperor had raised him personally, showering him with affection. In my past life, after marrying Qin Beigu as crown princess, I devoted myself to caring for this young uncle for 3 years to win the emperor's favor, nurturing him as if he were my own son. Now, reborn, I am to marry Qin Shinji? My brows furrowed. Yet my father's expression relaxed as he dipped his brush to cross out the sixth prince's name. He smiled. I was just about to remind you, there's still the Prince of Jin. Yuner. This is fate. His Royal Highness the Prince of Jin possesses extraordinary talent. A prodigy of our age. He is more suitable than any of His Majesty's sons. I sighed, but he's only 10. A full 5 years younger than me. My father asked with a smile. Does that mean you dislike him? Yuner? Was this even a matter of liking or disliking? Whenever it came to my marriage, my father's judgment seemed to cloud. He and mother were a perfect match. So he wants me to marry a man who truly understands me. He blames himself for all the tragedies of my past life, believing that had he not agreed to Qin Beigu's marriage proposal, I wouldn't have met such a tragic end. Now, my marriage has become his obsession. I pondered carefully for a moment. Father, you're right. If we want to bring down the crown prince, there's no better candidate than the Prince of Jin. Youth has its advantages. Once the mission succeeds, we can simply dissolve the marriage. The Prince of Jin is a gentleman. Surely he won't make things difficult for me. I gradually convinced myself. Marrying the Prince of Jin seemed absurd. Yet it was a shrewd move. While I was busy to the point of exhaustion, Qin Wenyin brought me new news. Just as Qin Shiyu had become a laughingstock in the capital, Crown Prince Qin Beigu stepped forward to plead with His Majesty, requesting to marry Qin Shiyu as crown princess. Rumors circulated in the palace that the emperor posed a question to the crown prince. The Qin family's daughter once abandoned you, and now her reputation is tarnished. She offers you no advantage whatsoever. Why must you marry her? The crown prince answered earnestly, Father, Shiyu and I grew up together as childhood sweethearts. I marry her solely because I love her. Gazing at his son kneeling before him, the emperor was suddenly transported back to his own Empress Yuan. They too had been childhood sweethearts, a young emperor and empress bound by deep affection. Alas! She was gone now. And the world had changed beyond recognition. Moved by the crown prince's sincerity, the emperor immediately issued an edict, conferring the title of crown princess upon Qin Shiyu. Simultaneously, the crown prince's confinement order was finally lifted. Qin Beigu's move was utterly unexpected. Not only had he won the heart of his beloved, but he had also successfully broken the deadlock, returning to the court. Truly beyond my expectations. Moreover, the winds of opinion in the capital had shifted. Not only had the rumors about Qin Shiyu vanished completely, but the people now sang praises of the crown prince and crown princess's unparalleled love, turning it into a celebrated tale. I had underestimated Qin Beigu and Qin Shiyu. They had staged a brilliant comeback. Qin Wenyin clasped my hand, her expression heavy with worry. Sister Yun, because of the drowning incident, Qin Shiyu seems to have developed a grudge against you. If she becomes crown princess, she'll surely cause you trouble. You must be careful. Ever since that spring banquet, Qin Wenyin had become inseparable from me. We found ourselves kindred spirits. And before long, we became close confidants. I patted her hand reassuringly and reminded her. You live under the same roof as her. You should be cautious too. Just days before the wedding, a servant announced the arrival of an honored guest. The night was as black as ink, the moonlight as smooth as water. When I saw the young master of the Rong family standing with his hands behind his back in the courtyard, I blurted out, "Uncle?" The words were barely out of my mouth when I inwardly cursed. I'd slipped into the habit of addressing him as I had in my past life. Hearing this, he turned to look at me. The young master possessed an extraordinary grace and unique aura, exuding a cool, serene nobility. His beauty was peerless, unmatched in the world. His complexion was pale, yet his bearing was impeccably dignified. "Miss Rong is not the crown princess now. You should still address me as His Royal Highness, the Prince of Jin." I froze, sensing something amiss in his words. In a flash, I caught the flaw in his statement. My eyes widened abruptly as I demanded, "Your Highness has also been reborn? This life's crown princess is Chinchiu. The only one who could know I was once crown princess must be someone reborn from the past life." Qin Shinji gave a faint nod. He studied me silently for a moment before speaking. "This marriage is not my own wish. If Miss Rong is unwilling, I shall petition His Majesty to revoke the decree." I frowned. "If it's not your Highness's wish, then why did His Majesty decree this marriage?" He averted his gaze, falling silent. The attendant guard beside him fidgeted anxiously, several times opening his mouth to speak only to stop himself. Finally, with a desperate tone, he blurted out, "Recently, Your Highness's old ailment flared up. No medicine could cure it. Yet, while unconscious..." Qin Shinji abruptly cut him off. "Silence. Be quiet." I felt baffled, unsure what riddle this master and servant were playing at. I looked forward in confusion toward the young master not far ahead. Tonight's moonlight was truly clear and bright. I could see Qin Shinji's flawless, jade-like ears at a glance, red as blood. After Qin Shinji left, I leaned against the window, lost in thought. The scene of our earlier conversation replayed in my mind, discovering that besides me, another person had been reborn in this world. My emotions found an outlet. I pressed Qin Shinji relentlessly. "Your Highness, since you too have been reborn, you must know what I endured in my previous life, even setting aside personal grudges. The crown prince is utterly unfit for the throne. Can a ruler like Qin Beigu, who blurs right from wrong and indiscriminately executes loyal ministers, truly govern this realm well? Rongyan is no saint, narrow-minded and vengeful. Having been reborn, I will make him repay every ounce of suffering I endured in my past life 100-fold. By marrying you, the people gain a worthy ruler while I achieve vengeance. Why would I refuse?" Having spoken thus far, I must ask, are you willing to take that throne? Qin Shinji, though young, is the most solemn and rigid of men. He truly is an excellent candidate for emperor. Yet he may not be willing to fight for it. After all, according to ancestral protocol, unless all the emperor's sons perish, the throne would not pass to him. Therefore, certain matters must be clarified before beginning. I cannot let the entire Rong family be sacrificed for me a second time. And how did he respond then? He gazed at me quietly, his voice calm. "As you wish." I couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, offering him a radiant smile as I made a solemn vow. "Your Highness, rest assured, once the matter is settled, Rongyun will voluntarily step down. I shall never usurp your position as empress." He remained silent. I took that as our agreement. The guard glanced left and right, then sighed deeply for no apparent reason. Though hastily arranged, the wedding was no mere formality. Amidst a 10-mile procession of crimson bridal finery and the clamor of gongs and drums, I entered the Jin prince's residence. After the wedding, we treated each other with respectful formality. I addressed him as Your Highness. He called me Princess Consort, even more courteous than in my past life. Time slipped by, both swiftly and slowly, until 2 years had quietly passed. During these 2 years, the Rong family secretly laid their plans, preparing thoroughly. After winter arrived, As His Majesty's health steadily declined, factional strife grew increasingly fierce. The third prince gathered vast support within the court, his influence unrivaled. Yet Crown Prince Jin devoted himself solely to tending His Majesty's illness, refusing to engage in rivalry. Once, when the emperor coughed up phlegm, the crown prince, in his urgency, caught it in his open palm without flinching, utterly unconcerned by the filth. Deeply moved, the emperor praised the crown prince's filial devotion. For a time, the crown prince's faction basked in triumph. That day, as I emerged from paying my respects to the emperor, I happened upon Qin Beigu and Qin Shiyu approaching. They bowed respectfully to me. A smile touched my lips as I adopted the demeanor of an elder. Among the three great disgraces of filial piety, failing to produce an heir is the gravest. With the crown prince being so devoted, his consort must strive diligently to bear him children and expand his lineage. Qin Shiyu's face turned ashen, her body swaying precariously. The searing hatred in her eyes as she met mine was impossible to conceal. Your Imperial Highness, I shall remember this. Thank you for your concern. Ever since that fall into the water, the chill had taken its toll. Her body was utterly ruined now, and she would never bear children again in this lifetime. Karma. It was, in a way, vengeance for the child I never bore in my past life. Qin Beigu, eager to defend his beloved, retorted sarcastically, and what of you? Imperial sister-in-law? Are you waiting for the imperial uncle to come of age? I smiled. My husband possesses extraordinary talent. To be by his side is my greatest honor. Qin Beigu's eyes darkened, his face turning completely grim. As we approached the palace gates, heavy snow began to fall from the sky. A discreet yet luxurious carriage stood quietly outside the palace gates. Hearing my footsteps, the young master inside lifted the curtain, looked at me, and extended his hand. I paused, placed my hand in his, and with his assistance, climbed into the carriage. No sooner had I settled than Qin Shinji gave a soft cough, an unnatural flush spreading across his pale face. I leaned forward to touch his forehead, finding it burning hot. My heart sank, and my brows furrowed involuntarily. Your Highness, you have a high fever. Are you unaware? His expression remained calm. It matters not. Matter not my ass. The imperial court was a cesspool of corruption. The princes embroiled in factional strife. Floods ravaged the south. Border invasions threatened. And every crisis, great or small, rested solely on his shoulders. The toll of such relentless exertion meant his health in this life was even more fragile than in the last. In his previous existence, his body had reached its absolute limit before he was sent to the Valley of the Medicine King for recuperation. Even momentous events like the emperor's demise and Qin Beigu's ascension to the throne were kept from him. Thus, he remained unaware of the Rong family's overnight annihilation. For some reason, I firmly believed that had the Prince of Jin known of this in his previous life, he would never have stood idly by. He would never have allowed the Rong family to face execution to the last man. I pulled out a pill and forcefully placed it in his mouth. First, bring down this high fever. He offered no resistance, swallowing the pill. I teased. Your Highness, aren't you afraid I might poison you? He lifted his gaze to meet mine, his long, thick lashes fluttering slightly. His eyes held a warm, tranquil depth, revealing a childlike obedience. I'm not afraid. In that instant, maternal affection flooded me. I took the official documents from his hands, gently cradled his head against my shoulder, and soothed him softly. Your Highness, rest for a while. I'll handle the rest. I couldn't persuade him to stop. Everything Qin Shinji was doing now was both for the realm and for my grand scheme of vengeance. Fortunately, from the moment I married him, he had personally taught me how to handle state affairs and govern the realm. Now, I was able to share the burden with him quite well. Before long, the sound of his steady, faint breathing reached my ears. He had fallen asleep. In that moment, even the air within the carriage felt still. Having finished reviewing all official documents, I lifted my gaze to the carriage window. The world outside was now cloaked in silver. As the snow fell, love spread silently. New Year's Eve banquet. Court and subjects reveled in joyous harmony. As the wine flowed freely, the third prince performed a sword dance to celebrate the new year for His Majesty, drawing cheers from the assembled ministers. The emperor, greatly pleased, asked what reward the third prince desired. The third prince looked up at his father and smiled. "Your humble son desires the throne." The words had barely left his lips when the sound of battle erupted outside the hall. Soldiers streamed in, surrounding the entire chamber. The emperor's rage boiled over, and he suddenly coughed up a mouthful of blood. Qin Begu stepped in front of the emperor and demanded, "Third prince, how dare you plot to usurp the throne? You have no shame." The third prince dismissed him with a wave. "The victor writes history. Your Highness, perhaps you should go practice your princely airs in the underworld." Qin Begu smiled. "Is that so?" Instantly, all the soldiers turned their blades toward the third prince. In mere moments, Qin Begu had captured every rebel. The third prince was executed on the spot, the hall thick with the stench of blood. He walked slowly to the emperor. "Father, the traitors have all been executed. You are old. It is time to abdicate." His Majesty roared with laughter, a sound both desolate and furious. "Very well. Very well. You are indeed my worthy sons." Qin Begu forced the emperor to write an abdication edict, then declared, "Finally, I beg father to issue one last decree, en faveur of Rongxiang's daughter, Rong Yun, as this son's empress." Qin Shiyu, upon hearing this, lunged at him like a madwoman. "Qin Begu, have you lost your mind? I am your rightfully betrothed crown princess. The empress's throne is mine. No one shall take it from me." Qin Begu thrust his sword through her heart. Qin Shiyu stared at him in disbelief. "Why?" Qin Begu replied coldly, "A fickle, opportunistic whore like you, do you think you deserve to be my empress?" He pulled the sword free, blood gushing forth. Qin Shiyu breathed her last with bitter resignation. Qin Begu paced over to me, gazing at me tenderly. "Yun Yun, are you still angry with me? Now I offer the empress's throne to you with both hands. Please don't be angry anymore. Okay? In my past life, I was a fool. Marrying Qin Shiyu was my obsession. She thought I couldn't do it, so I stubbornly did it just to prove her wrong. That wasn't love. The one I truly loved was you. I died by your hand in my past life. Any anger you hold should have faded by now. Rest assured, I won't hold your regicide against you. I only want you to be my empress. From this day forward, all grievances between us are forgiven." I grasped Qin Shinji's hand, interlocking our fingers. "The crown prince must be mad. I am your imperial sister-in-law." Qin Begu exclaimed passionately, "Imperial sister-in-law? You are mine. We are the perfect match. It was the imperial uncle who stole my love. He is the true thief, too." Qin Shinji coldly interrupted, "The crown prince's words and deeds are outrageous. He murdered his brother, his wife, and now seeks to kill the emperor. Execute him without mercy." Under Qin Begu's astonished gaze, soldiers surged into the hall, capturing every member of the crown prince's faction. His Majesty abdicated the throne to Qin Shensi, but passed away within 2 months. Qin Begu was executed by Ling Qi. I heard he begged to see me one last time before dying. Upon learning this, I gave a single, cold order. With each cut, sprinkle salt into the wound. Ensure he begs for death but cannot die. Complete this task well, and you shall be rewarded with 100 taels of gold. He endured over half a month of excruciating torture. his death a pitiful spectacle. Vengeance sated. I wept bitterly. Qin Shensi said nothing, merely standing silently by my side. His health deteriorated further, leaving me to handle most state affairs. I pressed him to go to the Valley of the Medicine King. He refused me for the first time, dismissively saying, "It's useless." My chest felt tight and stifling. I ignored him for days, refusing to speak. In the end, he came to me first, seeking reconciliation. Somehow, that young master who once seemed carved from ice and snow had blossomed into a peerless beauty. His voice was clear and calm. "I'm sorry. I just wanted to spend more time with you in these final days." I covered his mouth in fury, snapping, "Shut up." He smiled. "All right." That year, I lived in constant dread, walking on thin ice. I'd wake impossibly early, tiptoeing to check his breath. I didn't know what I feared, but the fear was real. A year later, he abdicated the throne to me, and I became the first female emperor in history. He stood below the steps, smiling at me. "Don't be afraid. You're doing well, better than I ever did." Qin Shin died on his 15th birthday. He left not a single word behind. And just the day before, I had been learning how to make longevity noodles. I wanted to surprise him, but he would never taste that bowl of noodles. His time froze forever on that 15th birthday. The night of his burial, I dreamt. I dreamt of a past life where, after Qin Beigu and I perished together, he finally received news of the upheaval in the capital. He rushed back from the Valley of the Medicine King. He turned the tide, took charge of the situation. He even avenged me by slaying Qinshiyu, carrying her severed head to my grave as an offering. He said, "Yuner, in your next life, find someone who loves you deeply. Let him accompany you through your entire life." When I awoke, my face was drenched in tears. The thought of Qin Shinji tears my heart apart, leaving me in unbearable agony. Do I love him? I don't know. I only know that a man in this world must be like Qin Shinji to ever capture my heart. But in this lifetime, I shall likely never encounter another of such breathtaking brilliance. Story Epilogue. Upon awakening from my coma, I learned the emperor had arranged a marriage for me. The bride was Rongyun, daughter of the chancellor. A fleeting, secret joy stirred within me, only to be swiftly suppressed. It felt absurd. The guard MOU spoke with a hint of grievance. "Your Highness, you kept calling that young lady's name while unconscious. If you didn't care for her, why would you call her name?" The emperor was desperate, bestowing this marriage to bring you good fortune. I froze. It must have been my dreams of a past life while unconscious. Unable to contain my emotions, I pushed myself up and hurried to the chancellor's residence. She must find happiness in this life. Yet I, frail and sickly, am no suitable match. Unexpectedly, she replied, "If marrying you means the people gain a good ruler while I avenge my grievances, why would I refuse?" She cared not for love, only vengeance. If vengeance is what she seeks, I shall avenge her. All shall be as you wish. On the day Qin Beigu plotted to usurp the throne, he claimed I had stolen his love. Yet I came before him. Rongyun accompanied her father to the palace banquet for the first time. Lost in the palace grounds, she stumbled into my chambers by accident. She took a fancy to a rare book in my collection and asked for it. We gradually struck up a conversation and found we were quite compatible. That day, assassins infiltrated the palace, triggering a full-scale alert. The assassins hid in my chambers, intending to take us hostage and escape. Though her face was deathly pale and she trembled violently, she still stood before me. "Your Highness, fear not. I will protect you." Fortunately, it ended without incident, and neither of us was harmed. I asked her why she had shielded me from the sword. She blinked her eyes and smiled. My father and mother always think I'm useless. With my head full of wild, unfocused thoughts. Tonight, I've enjoyed our conversation immensely. Your Highness, you are my kindred spirit, she declared with boundless passion. A man would die for his true friend. What's so impossible about that? In that instant, my very soul trembled. I was consumed by regret. Why was I born 5 years after her? Those 5 years felt like an uncrossable chasm. I could only watch helplessly, powerless to act. When I saw her again, she had become crown princess, married to my nephew. She had forgotten me. She respectfully addressed me as imperial uncle, inquiring after my health. I sent men to investigate. It turned out she had been so shaken by the assassin that she fell ill upon returning. When she awoke, she had forgotten everything from that night. She didn't remember our candlelit conversation. She forgot that a man would die for his true friend. She forgot everything. I felt regret. Yet somehow, it didn't feel like regret. For my life was too brief to stay by her side forever. Thankfully, she didn't love me. Thankfully, she never knew I loved her. Thankfully, my love has always been quiet. The end.